Hello everybody! In today's video, we're going to be talking about one of our favorite locomotives from the Thomas the Tank Engine universe, and that is Duck. Now Duck's real name is Montague, but he acquired the nickname Duck because he had a reputation for waddling. Now, I don't know how a tank engine waddles, but that's the story. Now our version of Duck is from Bachmann, it's HO scale, and it comes in at about 6 inches long. Now just a little history of what kind of locomotive Duck is. Duck is a GWR, or Great Western Railways 5700 series 060 pannier tank steam locomotive. Now where the pannier style comes in is you can see here that the tanks along the side of the boiler are don't quite come down to the decking here. And they don't come above the boiler, so you can see a little bit of a hump of the boiler here. And those tanks are bilateral, so there's one on each side. Now where the word pannier comes from, it's really kind of a reference to pannier bags. And pannier bags are what you would see, say, on a motorcycle, with the saddlebags, or what you might see on a pack animal like a donkey that has the bags kind of slung over the back on both sides. And so you can see here the two tanks kind of look like they're slung over the boiler. So that's where the term pannier comes from in this example. Now these GWR 57 series were used mostly for shunting duties and also for some light hauling. The 060 version of the pannier locomotives were manufactured starting roughly around 1898 to 1901, and the 5700 series specifically began production in 1929 and ran into the 1950s. So let's go ahead and take a detailed look at Duck, and then we'll take him out on the layout for a run. Okay, as we said earlier, Duck is about 6 inches long from coupler tip to coupler tip, and we've got the hook and loop couplers here. And just kind of working left to right, you'll see here that from the bottom here we've got the metal wheels, obviously, because that's where the power is transferred from the track. But we've got cylinder here, or piston here, right up front at the bottom. The lower deck is all painted black. We've got a couple of steps here and here. We've got some boxes up here. Not sure what those will be used for. Maybe they house lanterns or something, or some kind of utility there. And then you can see little fender work here from the wheels below. And then there's a little box here. And then you can just see a little quarter or eighth or so of a fender here for that rear drive wheel. And as we said earlier, Duck is an 060, which means he has no leading wheels. He's got 6 drive wheels, 3 on each side, and no trailing wheels. And as you can see, Duck is quite long. He's got this kind of these rectangular tanks on both sides, as you can see here. You might be able to catch a hint of the hump of the boiler at the top. It's got some silver piping work right along the top of the tank, and this nice GWR for Great Western Railroads. It's yellow with a little bit of red kind of high accent there to give the lettering some depth. And of course, Duck is number 8. As you go through the cab here, there's not a ton of detail here. This is just flat black plastic here, so you can't see into the cab or anything like that on this particular model. And then it's got some little handholds here, painted silver for the cab. And then back here is the coal bunker. And then along the top here, we got a couple domes here. We got the chimney, or the funnel, depending on what you call it here. We got a little element back here. I'll just call it a dome there for lack of a better term. And then you probably can't see it. You'll see it at different angles here, but you've got the connecting arms here under the deck. They just happen to be high the way the wheels are positioned here for the drive wheels. Okay, so let's give it a turn. All right, from the rear here, you can see that nice green paint kind of carries around, of course. We got a red bumper. We've got some black buffers here. They're non-functioning. They're just kind of static plastic pieces here. We got a utility hook right on the back bumper there, and the hook and loop coupler. And then you can see here we got the coal bunker with a kind of a realistic looking load of coal there, a couple of porthole windows, and then an ever so slightly arched black roof. Let's continue around. Okay, so this side of Duck is actually a mirror image of the opposite side. There's nothing really different here. Same GWR lettering, obviously the same green paint scheme. You might be able to see that connecting arm here a little bit better. We have the number 8, again the same type of piping detail that you saw on the other side. And you might be able to see, we'll see it from the top, but you might be able to see these, what I assume are water filler caps there on the tank, so that's on both sides. You might not be able to see across to the other side, but they're bilateral on both tanks. And then again, the same boxes here. The piston, yeah, looks pretty good. Let's continue around. Okay, now looking at it from the front here, we have, of course, Duck's smiling face. And as long as we're on the topic of the face here, you can see the eyes there. These eyes do traverse back and forth when he's running on the track on the layout, and you'll see that when we run him. Again, on the front here, we've got the red bumper, some buffers, utility hook, and a hook and loop coupler up there on front. We've got these boxes here. We get a little bit what looks like a step up here on either side of the face. We got some piping that comes in from the tank, wraps over the boiler, nice semicircular shape there, and then finishes off across the other tank. And here from the front, you can really kind of see that pannier style, that's just so recognizable. You can see the boiler coming down here. You can see the boiler, the arch of the boiler, and then the two tanks kind of running right down each side of the boiler. And again, they're lifted off of the decking slightly, again, for that maintenance purpose. You might be able to see here from this angle the water caps on each tank, chimney, and then you'll see a couple of couple of porthole windows there in the cab. Now there's a whistle behind, painted in brass behind that far chimney there. Yeah, so you can see right here, there's a little whistle painted back there. Pretty nice. Yeah, so that's the front. Let's take a look at the top and the bottom. Okay, looking down from the top here, you can see the chimney. Here you can probably get a pretty good view of those tanks running alongside the boiler. You might be able to tell that the boiler's got a little bit of a curve to it there. You've got your domes. You get this again. I'm not 100% sure what this is, if this is some kind of a steam chimney there. Then you got your water caps, black roof. There's no detail on this black roof. This isn't a really highly detailed locomotive. It certainly does the job, but it's not overly detailed. But it's got a black roof, and again, from other angles, you'll see there's a slight curve to that. And then there's the coal bunker here. And then if Evan turns it the other way, we'll be able to see the whistle again, kind of from the top here. We look straight down there in between the porthole windows on the cab. That's not a separate piece, that's just molded into the plastic and then painted brass. Okay, let's take a look at the bottom. Okay, looking at the bottom here, not a ton of detail. It's got the typical Bachmann, logoing there stamped into the plastic. You've got some access screws in case you want to get into that case and service the motor. So you get a screw here. Here's a little screw for replacing the coupler if you need to. Then we get 3 screws here along the bottom of the motor here. Then a rear screw here. Yeah, so there's about, I would say, about a dozen screws there on the bottom. And then if he tilts it up a little bit, you'll be able to see, they're kind of at the high position here, but you'll see the connecting arms connecting all 6 wheels there. And then we have another part number as usual on these Bachmann engines or locomotives or rolling stock, whatever, printed on the bottom. Yeah, so there's a look at the bottom. All right, let's give it one more spin. All right, and there you have it. There's Duck, also known as Montague, from the Thomas & Tank Engine universe. And we'll take a look at some rolling stock real quick that we're going to run with Duck out on the layout. Okay, so before we take Duck out onto the layout, let's take a look at a few pieces of rolling stock that he'll be hauling out there. We haven't seen these before in other videos, so these haven't been reviewed by us, so we'll just take a quick look before we go out. So the first one up is a Troublesome Truck number 3. This Troublesome Truck is green, and it's kind of a 2-axle wagon here that looks like it could be hauling like livestock or something along those lines. This piece of rolling stock has actually quite a nice level of detail here. You can see there's a lot of bracing work. There's some doors here with simulated bolt work, if you can see that. These are kind of open wagons here with the air vents there, which is what makes me think that it's more for livestock than anything else. Maybe not, but that's what it looks like to me. We got some diagonal bracing here. The color, the dark green color of the wagon, which is plastic in construction, carries all the way down here into the truck area, where all the mechanics are, the leaf springs and some of the brake mechanisms that you can see there. And you might be able to see here that the wheels are metal. But yeah, nice level of detail. Again, HO scale, by the way. So let's give it a turn. And here's Troublesome Truck number 3's face. Looks kind of menacing. But yeah, you can see here we got some plank work, a slightly arched roof, black roof. Not a ton of detail on the roof, actually not any detail on the roof. So there's no like little bulwark or anything like that, or little gutters sometimes we see over the doors. Hook and loop coupler, a couple of buffers, painted black. But yeah, nice. Let's give it a turn. Now this side here is a mirror image of the opposite side. So you got the center doors, again, a lot of plank work kind of in the background here. There's some bracing and framing in the front, diagonal bracing, again, brake mechanics, leaf springs, and all the kind of the suspension for the trucks. Metal wheels, oh, and hook and loop couplers. Yeah, and on the back here, you see again, little arch in the roof, plank work, bracing, again, right down to like the little molded in bolt work, which is nice. Buffers, hook and loop coupler, and then a couple of little structural elements here. All right, let's take a look at the top and the bottom. Yeah, like I said before, black roof, slight arch, no detail up there at all, just a nice smooth roof, kind of a flat, matte kind of color to the roof. Let's take a look at the bottom. Yeah, not a ton of detail down there. Most of the detail appreciated from the side, not necessarily the bottom here, but we get the metal wheels, the Bachmann logoing stamped into the plastic, part number. Again, good look at the hook and loop couplers there. Yeah, nice. So just to get a look at the bottom there. Let's give it one more final spin. And there you have it, Troublesome Truck number 3. Okay, next up is Troublesome Truck number 5. This Troublesome Truck has a gray roof, and it's an A-frame roof actually. You'll see that when we do the spin. It's kind of an off-white in color. It's got a nice bolt work detail here. You got a couple of center doors, some plank work, and you can see the bolt work kind of going diagonal down each side, some bracing. Some kind of door hardware molded in there. This doesn't really have like the depth of texture that Troublesome Truck number 3 has. This is all pretty much molded flat into the plastic, but yeah, still, with the level of detail in the molding itself, it's still good looking truck to look at. Down below, the lower framing, the decking and framing is black. And you can see here, like most of these other, kind of troublesome truck type of rolling stock that we've showed before. Nice level of detail down here on the trucks. It's a 2-axle truck, metal wheels. You can see the brake mechanics down here, suspension, just real nice. And then you can probably get a side view of the buffers, hook and loop couplers. Yeah, let's give it a spin. Yeah, and from this angle you can see Troublesome Truck number 5's face. He looks a little in a better mood than I think some of the other Troublesome Trucks do, but you can see here the A-frame roof. You can see the corner bracing here with the 2 rows of bolt work molded into the plastic, some bracing behind the face, kind of extending from the roof line down below the frame. Yeah, it's a good looking truck. A couple buffers, hook and loop coupler, and again that A-frame roof. From here on the side of the roof we'll see there is a slight detail molded into the roof, which looks like kind of a rain gutter type of thing, which would shed the rain off the roof and channel it to either end of the car and then off. So let's continue to spin. Yeah, this side here, mirror image of the opposite side. Won't spend a ton of time on it. We got the corner bracing, again, same level of detail. Oh, and here's the little gutter. If you can see that little thing arching up there from corner to corner, extending up into the roof a little bit. So, all right, let's give it a final spin here. And here we got the back side, corner bracing. Again, we've got some hardware elements kind of molded into the plastic. Some vertical bracing extends down below the framing. A couple buffers, hook and loop coupler, A-frame roof. Very nice. Let's look at the top and the bottom. Yeah, so there's a nice view of the roof here. Again, kind of a darkish gray. You can see the ridge line here in the center, and then in the light, hopefully you'll be able to see the little gutter work on both sides. Other than that, there's no additional detail, no bolt work or rivet work or anything like that. Let's take a look at the bottom. Okay, typical for these cars here, not a ton of detail on the bottom. We've got the Bachmann logoing there. This one here is stamped in white, which makes it easier to see. Part number. Again, you've got some screws here if you need to access the inside of the car for whatever reason. And all these cars here, you can see the little spring work in the hook and loop coupler there that keeps them centered. Yeah, a little profile of the buffer, hook and loop coupler again as before. But yeah, just to give you a look at the bottom. All right, let's give it one more spin. If I didn't mention it before, these are about 4 inches in length from coupler tip to coupler tip. All right, and there you have it. That is Troublesome Truck number 5. Okay, last up is the Spiteful brake van. This is the Northwest Railroad's brake van. As you can see, this is quite an interesting car or piece of rolling stock to look at. You've got, it's kind of the cab part of it is shorter than the overall length, which is kind of interesting. People can stand out here, workers or whatever can stand out there, if they need to be out there for whatever reason. It's got a couple of pass-throughs here for walking through. You can stay under cover there. It has this kind of gray-green color to it, I think, for lack of a better color description. And then it's got some plank work down here, and then this little protrusion feature here. Not sure what that would necessarily be, but it has the NW markings on it, and then a 13 and a 20. I think that's a T down there. And then you've got some white painted hand rails here, and then some white hardware work right there across the bottom of the body there. On top, you have a couple of, you'll be able to see it more from the top, but you get a couple of pieces of gutter work up here that keeps the rain from dripping down into the doorway there on either side. And then you got probably what is a little chimney there for a wood burning stove or something inside the inside the cabin. And then you got the framing and the decking all in black. This is a 2-axle brake van. It's got metal wheels and quite a bit of detail down here for some of the metal work down here. So it's definitely a nice looking piece of rolling stock. Let's give it a turn. All right, looking at that face, I know why they call him the Spiteful brake van. He does not look too pleasant, but here's the face. On these rolling stock, by the way, even in the HO scale, the eyes do not traverse back and forth when they're running on the layout. That only the locomotives really do that. But if you look deep in here, you can see some door detail in here, some windows, if I can get my pointer in there, and then a center door right there. You can see the smaller windows for that. So you get some planking work here on the little porch. Slightly arched roof. Silver paint on the buffers. Hook and loop coupler. Yeah, it's definitely a nice looking brake van. Let's continue to turn. Okay, this side is largely a mirror image of the opposite side, so we won't go through a ton of detail here. Same color scheme, lettering, but the chimney obviously moved from this side to that side because we're on the opposite side. But otherwise the details are pretty much the same, but there's your look at the opposite side. Continuing to turn. The only real difference here is that there's no face on this end. So we get, again, the door in the center, windows, yeah, silver buffers. Good looking car. Let's take a look at the roof. On the roof you can see some detail here. Again, you get the rain gutters over each of the 4 doors that are exit the porch areas there. These are probably vents of some sort here on the top, and then you've got the little stove chimney there on the top. Otherwise it's smooth, kind of glossy. Let's take a look at the bottom. And on the bottom, not a ton of detail here. Again, you've just got the Bachmann logoing down there. Corporate logo. It says Bachmann here, part number. It doesn't have like the Bachmann kind of corporate crest there, just the word Bachmann. Metal wheels, but again, not a ton of detail, but just to show you the bottom there. It's got a few screws if you want to take the top off for whatever reason. So, all right, let's give it one more spin. All right, and there you have it, the Spiteful brake van. So let's take Duck and these 3 pieces of rolling stock out to the layout and take it for a run.